Welcome to another episode of the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing. This week, the Honorable Chief Secretary Orville London addresses the media.
Let me just start by congratulating all of those who would have in any way contributed to the success of the 5th Annual Chief Secretary Secondary Schools Art Competition. Once again, the standard was quite high, and I want to congratulate all the schools, especially, of course, the Speyside Government Secondary School, which for the 4th time in 5 years won the top prize, and of course will be featured prominently in the calendar. But I must say that the level of the participation among the schools was quite encouraging, and I want to pay special tribute to the Department of Information headed by Ms. Joanna Burrows and her team, and all the students, all the teachers, all the support staff who would have contributed to another fantastic presentation. I think the future for Ireland, where art is concerned, is in good hands, and I expect even greater things from the young artists. The Tobago House of Assembly was dissolved on the 11th of November, and based on the Tobago House of Assembly Act, the outside date for the election, of course, is going to be 11th of February. Under the Tobago House of Assembly Act, it is the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago who makes the declaration after consultation with the Chief Secretary and the Prime Minister. The consultation between the President and me has been completed, and we have reached consensus on a date. And the President has advised that he is going to consult with the Prime Minister. And as long as the Prime Minister is also in agreement with that date, within a very short time, the President will be making the announcement for the date of the primary election and, of course, the nomination day for persons wishing to contest the Tobago House of Assembly election. So very soon, the President will put all of us out of our suspense and be able to indicate exactly when we will go to the polls in the 2017 Tobago House of Assembly election. With respect to the Tobago House of Assembly Constitution Amendment Bill, I wish to advise that despite what the naysayers might have been saying, that the process is in train. And in fact, just Monday, I received correspondence from our legal department, that's the THA's legal department, which indicated that they have been in communication with the officers at the Ministry of the Attorney General, including the Chief Parliamentary Counsel. And based on this document, the bill was referred to Cabinet and then to the FNGP, that's the Financial and General Purposes Committee. The bill will be reviewed by the FNGP and returned to Cabinet for its decision on how to move forward. And the Parliamentary Council will be working with our legal people for any background information that they might need in order to ensure that all the nuances in the bill are explained so that the Cabinet will understand and be in a position to make a reasonable decision. So I just want to give the people of Tobago the assurance that the bill is not lying in mothballs somewhere. It is being treated with in a serious manner, and we should expect that there is going to be some outcome at the end of the exercise. I want to place on record my concern about what I consider not just the very slow pace, but the unacceptable pace at which the DPA and the Public Service Commission are treating with matters concerned with filling of vacant positions and acting appointments in the Tobago House of Assembly. I want to give you an example of how alarming the situation is. In 2007, there was a review of the structure of the Tobago House of Assembly. As a result of that, a number of new positions were created and approval was given by the cabinet. That was in 2007. Up to this year, 2016, many of those positions have not yet been filled. In fact, have not yet even been advertised. And there are also some positions which the CPO was supposed to have classified, and those positions have also not been classified. So it places the Assembly at a very serious disadvantage, where almost a decade ago, efforts were being made, or we had made the necessary effort and done the necessary research and made the recommendations as to positions that were to be filled in order to ensure that the Tobago House of Assembly was able to carry out its functions as effectively as possible. And 10 years later, those positions are not yet filled. So I am just, making a public appeal to add to the numerous pieces of correspondence that would have gone between various chief administrators and, of course, the DPA and the Public Service Commission, and to ask that the concerns of the Assembly be treated with the seriousness and the sensitivity that they deserve. Today, after an extended period, we were able to finally give approval for the deed of gift for residential lot at Corland Housing Development for Lalon Gordon. This took some time because we had made the commitment, but the point about it is that we did not want to give him virgin territory. And therefore, what we did is that we waited until we are in a position where that whole estate was developed and that we can give him a lot of land there, so that that commitment has been fulfilled. The note has been approved and confirmed, and the Division of Settlement now has the authority to make the handover to Mr. Gordon. Of course, there would be certain conditionalities, one of which, of course, that it cannot be sold. But other to that, we would have met our commitment. I think you would know that we also would have met our commitment to the other Tobago athletes who would have done well in that particular championship. And they would have received cash donations, and that we'd have met those commitments years ago. At our Executive Council meeting, we also approved the grant of lands at Corland for the setting of a public cemetery, also for a parking lot and infrastructural works. I don't know if you remember, a couple months ago, we would have done a similar exercise for public cemetery at the Roxbury Estate. And Mr. Melville, the Secretary of Infrastructure, has given the assurance that work on preparing the estate for the cemetery should start at Rocks Road next week, and at the Corland site in the first week of January. I think we are all aware of the challenges faced in both Windward and Leeward Tobago in finding suitable space for the burial of our dead. And therefore, it's something of a relief that we are in the position where we can make these pieces of state land available. And I think the terrain is quite conducive to fairly large tract being made available that can serve the people of in the various locations for an extended period. I just want to make one clarification. I don't want to go too much into it because it is before the court. But contrary to the reports, only one of the four persons who would have been charged for fraud was in fact an employee of the THA, and that individual was not a permanent employee. And of course, one would recognize that it was because of the diligence of the officers why the matter was brought to the attention of the authorities and appropriate action was taken. This was something that was, as I said, did not necessarily reflect on any of the decision makers in the office, and I expect that the truth will out during the course of the trial. But as I said, with the situation being as it is, I don't wish to say anything more on that particular matter. On a lighter note, I want to just, before I go to that, tomorrow morning, the CEO of Caribbean Airlines and other senior officials will be meeting with the Secretary of Tourism and her team to discuss the Tobago proposals with respect to the operations of Caribbean Airlines. I think you will have told you that we would have met with the chairman, the secretary and I would have met with the chairman some time ago, and we would have presented to him not just our concerns but our recommendations as to how some of those concerns, many of them quite long-standing, how those concerns could be addressed. And that meeting tomorrow would be at the level of the technocrats, of course under the supervision of the secretary, where we can zero in on the recommendations and to see which ones of them could be implemented and how quickly they could be implemented. So I'm hoping that we would be able to get some progress. I have received concerns from numerous quarters about the situation as exists as we speak, where according to the reports, no bookings are available between now and Christmas. Caribbean Airlines had indicated to us maybe a week or so ago that they had put, I can't remember the figure, either 6,000 or 8,000 additional seats on the route, but it doesn't seem as if that has made too much of an impact on the demand. And therefore I'm hoping that coming out of tomorrow's meeting that there could be some assurance given to the Tobago public and the Tobago hoteliers, because I understand that there have been a number of cancellations, obviously, people wishing to come to Tobago and cannot be assured of firm bookings. And this is something that has been a perennial problem, and I am hoping that they can find a way to resolve it in a manner that makes the whole situation more predictable.
Then my question has to do with Milshiv. What's going on with that building? It's been, we've seen lights there every single night, but it's unoccupied. Persons are wondering
interesting you raise that, because it actually came up at our discussions today, and we're going to do it in phases. Basically, when you have a building that's empty, you have to retrofit it. And I think you know that retrofitting a building of that size is quite a massive undertaking, but it is also an undertaking that has to be done in as transparent a manner as possible. So we have commissioned EIDCOT to do the procurement. That process has started, and we expect that procurement process should be completed within weeks. In the interim, however, in fact, just today, the Secretary of Infrastructure brought a note asking for approval for the necessary infrastructural work to be done for the licensing division. So we expect that sometime, maybe by the middle of January at the latest, the licensing division would be put there. But I want to be very frank with you. The other divisions, which would be the Division of Agriculture and the Division of Settlement and Labor, that will take a couple months because the retrofitting will involve some plumbing, it will involve partitioning, it will involve furniture, it will involve telecommunications. So it is not as simple as one would have thought. But one of the main challenges we had, as I said, is ensuring that the procurement process is transparent and we're in a position that when we completed the exercise, we get value for money. But it's also done in a manner that does not create any unnecessary challenge. I like you, I'm not comfortable at the delay, but it has been explained, and I suppose out of abundance of caution, we needed to go down that road. But it's more than likely that the licensing people will be there, and that will bring an end to that 11, 12 o'clock work stoppage, which has become the norm in recent months.
In respect to the recent increase of robberies across the island, what are your thoughts on the policing, the business sector, and everything that's taking place currently?
I am not one who simply reacts when something goes wrong or when we have a spate of robberies. I tend to look at the trends and I'll try to, look at the causes and, and one of the things that I recognize many, many years ago, and I think all of us should, that there is no single factor responsible for crime or even an increase in crime. And therefore, if one has to treat with the whole process, one has to investigate why. One also has to understand that very little is achieved by blame laying and finger pointing. When you do that, you put people on the defensive, and they sometimes attempt to defend the indefensible and do not collaborate in finding solutions, or sometimes you don't even have solutions, finding ways of alleviating the problem. Because crime will always be with us, and what we need to do is to find ways to alleviate the problem. We in Tobago have to understand, and I think you're quite right to join with all of us in sharing concern, that the Tobago environment has changed, that we have too much gun-related violence. And we need, therefore, to one, how do the guns get here? Two, who has them? Three, how do we treat with identifying those elements? Because I think in the Tobago context, we still have some advantages in that I don't think that there are crime hotspots, many crime hotspots where the culture is supportive of criminal activity. I still feel that in almost every single community in Tobago, the culture does not support criminal activity. And therefore, the quality of community policing and the level of interaction and trust between the police and the public, I think that should help us in eradicating. But I also think that, and we've discussed it on numerous occasions, security on the port is one of the areas about which I am very, very concerned. Security with respect to the sea, the marine environment, the number of inlets where people can come and go and so on, and which encourages significant drug trafficking, all of those things, so that the role of the Coast Guards in all of this cannot be underemphasized. I don't think that the Coast Guard is given the kind of resources necessary to do the level of patrolling that we need to do to keep the Tobago coastline relatively under control. So all of these elements, and then just as importantly, the role of us, the citizens. We have got to be aware that we are not living in the Tobago of 1986, or maybe even 1996. And therefore, we have to be more vigilant. We have to make use of the technology. Because I remember some time ago, one businessman indicating to me, and it is something I feel has merit, that one of the ways in which you can encourage a certain degree of surveillance is that as part of the licensing structure, business places that have cameras be given concessions. So that if you have a situation, you can actually find most of Tobago being covered, not only because of the cameras put in by the police, but also the cameras put in by private people, etc. And the final point I want to make is that we in Tobago, and I'm not one to bash the police. I don't think the police deliberately, do things to ensure that they have the kind of statistics that they do. I think they have to do some introspection and maybe think that they can do better. But I don't think they can do it alone. And I believe that we as citizens, as residents in Tobago, also have a responsibility. I think that we like to look into each other's business, and if we use that same kind of philosophy in dealing with crime, and if we report suspicious activities in good time, if there is the element of trust between the public and the police, I think that maybe your detection rate could improve. In the Tobago context, with the kind of society that we have, even though the detection rate might be slightly better than most parts of Trinidad, I still feel that we can find ways and means to improve our detection rate. So the point I'm making is that there's no single way or no single reason why things happen, and no single way of treating with it. We have to understand that it's everybody's problem, and you're not going to really achieve too much by just apportioning blame and throwing brickbats at people without us all coming together, doing the necessary introspection and evaluation, and determining what each element can do to make the situation better. It's a long speech, but I feel very strongly about it.
Okay, but now that the criminals are actually using their weapons, though, do you feel an elevated level of concern?
Of course, and I'm saying all of us must feel concerned because the environment is changing. And, I was actually, in Black Rock, not at the place when there was the armed robbery. It took place just about maybe 400 meters from where I was. And when one looked at what was reported, the circumstances under which the young lady in the establishment got shot, it was, whimsical. I mean, I was told that there was no fight back or anything like that. Just said, well, let me do a thing before I leave, and that is frightening. That it's not just the guns, not just the weapons. It's a mindset that really doesn't value life and doesn't see people as human beings. And I think that level of callousness is what I find to be quite frightening. And these people live among us, and they are our brothers and our cousins, and in some cases we embrace them, and maybe we shouldn't.
I have a problem with the speed limit. We see that the speed guns, the speed traps, they are back. Crime is on the increase, yes. We know that there are fatalities, yes. But I don't know how much you can do in terms of speaking with the authorities. I know this is under Mr. Melville, but speaking with the authorities in terms of increasing Tobago's speed limit, even if it is to 60 or 70. But 50, I mean...
Well, I think the division has, in fact, come up with some recommendations, I think those recommendations would have gone somewhere. Mr. Melville might be in the best position to tell you where they went. But I want you to bear in mind the challenge in the Tobago context, because as far as my limited knowledge goes, the speed limit is not only dependent on the width of the road, but it's also dependent on the traffic. It's also dependent on whether the areas are built up and not built up and so on. So even if we are going to have an increase in the speed limit in Tobago, I would want to suggest that the areas where that will be applicable and responsible and safe, those areas are going to be very, very limited because of the state of the roads. Most of our roads are winding roads. And secondly, because of the fact that in many of these areas where you have the roads that are built up areas, and you have schools, and you have various other elements which must be taken into consideration. But I think that the division would have taken all of that into consideration when it made its recommendation. But I'm certain that if you speak to Mr. Melville, he might be able to provide you. I suspect that there was a document.
What is the status of the quarry right now, and how operational is it?
All right. Well, I'll have to answer the question in two parts. How operational it is and how operational it is going to be. It's quite interesting you raise that question now. We are in the process of revamping the quarry. In fact, just today, I would have taken a note to the Executive Council. Initially, we had a board running the quarry. We had moved, let me put it differently. Remember, the quarry was under the Division of Infrastructure. It was run as maybe a unit of the division. We decided a couple months ago to change that model and to bring in a board. But then after we examined the process and the challenges and the possible advantages one way or the other, we decided that we're going to just simply use the model of having a company. So that I took a note to the Executive Council today for the setting up of a company to manage the quarry, which will mean that it is going to be run according to strict private sector kind of criteria. And we also working in close conjunction with NITCO. In fact, on Saturday, officials of NITCO are going to be in Tobago, and they're going to be meeting with members of the officers from the Division of Infrastructure and personnel from the board, because it's still a board. And they're going to be doing a tour of the facility and kind of working out the procedures to upgrade the level of efficiency and the production level of the quarry at the quarry. Because the Prime Minister is in agreement and has indicated that the potential of the quarry should be fully exploited, and that the quarry can, in fact, that's the Studley Park quarry, can contribute significantly not only to the development of Tobago, but the development of Trinidad and Tobago. And therefore, a lot of the stuff, the material that is proposed to use on the construction of highways in Trinidad is earmarked to come from the quarry. But in order to do that, we got to do things, totally different. And that is why we want to ramp up the management structure so that we actually operating at a highly efficient level. So there are, I would say, some pretty interesting times ahead for the quarry. One of the things we're also doing is to deal with the jetty, the Studley Park jetty. That is also done for upgrade. It might mean that we have to put in a breakwater, because the the situation there. So the engineers are looking at that, but that also is going to happen. And one advantage to that is that once the jetty is in operation, we're going to move all the cement movement, the bringing of cement to Tobago. It will no longer be done at the Scarborough port. So the problem of congestion, the problem of the inconvenience when tourist ships come in, because I know that there have been at least one challenge, maybe more, when you had a tourist ship in, and then the kind of issues with the stuff from the cement boat. So there are a number of advantages that we're going to be able to derive from that. We're also going to be able to bring sand. So you have barges bringing up sand and taking down boulders and stuff and so on. So if we get that going, it means that it's going to totally revolutionize the way in which the construction industry or the construction sector in Tobago operates, but it's also going to mean a significant increase in the revenue generating capacity of the quarry.
Thank you for staying with us for the Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council Media Briefing for the week ending 17th December 2016.